All right, cool. We're here with Joe Hollier, and we're talking a lot of things, but we're going to talk about Lightphone and your involvement in it. Thanks for getting on. Thanks for being a part of it.
Yeah, awesome. Hell yeah. My pleasure.
Yeah. So cool. I mean, let's start out. Like, we could talk about Lightphone, but I think that we should probably talk about skateboarding first. Like, where did you grow up? Like, where did you come up skating? How did you get into it? I think that is what a lot of people want to know about right away.
Yeah. So I grew up in Jersey, suburb pretty close to the city, maybe like 30-minute train ride, 15 miles or so. So was fortunate that by the time I hit high school, I could start taking the train into the city with friends after school or on the weekend. I probably started skating in fifth grade, around 10 years old or so. Yeah, I mean, I think Tony Hawk had either just come out or was like about to come out. Some older brothers of friends started having skateboards. So I think it was like this year of where like a good chunk of the dudes in school dabbled with skateboarding. But then like a year or two later, there was like three of us left that still like actively skated.
That's kind of how it works. I feel like so many people, especially, yeah, man, Tony Hawk era, the video game, the 900.
Minik Madi was my first VHS.
Nice.
Still kind of like the best video,
It's
but
so good. It's
obviously
so good.
sentimental attachment to that one. So yeah, if that gives it some perspective, BA was just like the skater of the year right before that.
So sick. So, I mean, that like gives us a time and a place and stuff. And you started skating in your town in Jersey. Were you around for Brooklyn Banks
Yeah,
prior
I mean,
to closure?
that was like one of the first spots like wanted to go to. We didn't know anything about the city. I mean, I think 50/50 skateboarding was sort of around and had like their little spot map that was cool, pre-quarter snacks and
I was
stuff.
gonna say shout out Costa in a previous life.
Yeah, I mean, dude, we as little kids love that. But we went to the banks. I remember like the first time there, we met these two kids from Coney Island, and like they became some of our best friends through high school. Nate Rojas and Stefan Martinez. So I don't know if some New York heads might remember their names.
Oh yeah.
They ripped, and so yeah, and they started coming to Jersey. They would take us further into the city to Brooklyn, places we'd never really been. So I remember the banks. I remember back to the banks in 2008, real particular. That was just like a big one. I think there was like the premiere of Last of the Mohegans that same day, or maybe the day after or something. That's like a strong New
Amazing.
York memory from, I don't know, I guess almost 20 years ago now.
Yeah, some very good parts in that one too. Cato, Dave
Yeah,
Cato has an amazing part. 2008, is that the one? Was it the contest Davis Torgerson Dolly very healed over the rail? Maybe.
that sounds right to me.
If it was, sick. Okay, good.
I
I just
remember
have to ask.
Newport's part a lot. John Newport,
Yeah,
he's a good
yeah,
buddy. So like, I
so sick.
remember like when I met him, I was like, I was at that premiere.
That's so sick, man. Okay, well, sick. So that helps us frame it a little bit. And like, you've been skating since obviously we initiated this. Let's just jump to the thing. I wanted to talk light phone. Like, for those who don't know, what is it? Like, what is it all about?
Yeah, so the light phone is at its core just a really intentionally simple cell phone, and the whole premise is that our smartphones, as they've existed at least in the last 10 years or so, have been this huge source of distraction, and find ourselves vulnerable to scrolling and more scrolling, checking again and again and again. And it's a huge source of anxiety and frustration, depression, all of these sort of things, jealousy, comparing yourself to everyone else out there. And I felt like, from my own experience as a skateboarder, as an artist, all of my time offline, which is so special and different. And I found when I brought the smartphone into the mix, I sort of lost myself a bit and lost my motivation in different ways. And so I sort of said, like, why I have two computers, I have all these other tools. Why do I bring the entire internet and computer with me everywhere? What if my phone was just a phone again? Sort of a roundabout way to describe it, but really it's a super, super simple cell phone. It's built around calls and text. And now in our sort of third iteration, we have some other sort of utilities, like set alarm, you can check your calendar, you can upload some music. But really we call it designed to be used as little as possible. So the idea is that hopefully you forget you even have a phone, but if your homie calls you, your girlfriend calls you, you're reachable, but without the kind of phantom checking feeling, like get to a bar and you don't recognize anyone, so you just whip out the phone. That's really what it's about avoiding as much.
I love that so much, and it's such a like issue for our times. Like we're all on our phones so much. Did that come from you're talking about like your personal experience, just like outside of doing stuff? But like, was there one moment that you had where you're just like, dude, there needs to be a better way? Were you like sitting somewhere, or was it like a gradual thing?
I mean, I would say like there was many little moments where I, in reflecting, realized that like the smartphone had messed something up. Like one I can think of is like I was freelance sort of video and design before the light phone, and being on the beach in Miami with my chick at the time and going to change the song and then seeing an email from a client and letting it just completely throw my day off, even though like there's nothing I can do here on the beach smoking my weed, like chilling out. And now I'm pissed and my girlfriend's like, why are you upset? Like, and it's like, that was my day off. So I felt like as a freelancer, it was hard to like have online and offline separation. But for the actual like ideation of the light phone in 2014, this is sort of a funny one. Google, of all people, had an experimental program and they invited some artists and designers. I think I was sort of chosen as a wild card in the mix, but they really encouraged us to make new types of technology companies. But once we like really got into it, they really just wanted smartphone apps. And I learned a lot more about how and why these things were built and funded. Like every venture capital firm wanted to see how sticky your app was. Because if you made an app or a website that was sticky that people kept checking, there was all sorts of money to be made collecting data
Right,
and selling super
right.
targeted ads. And I think it's sort of mainstream known at this point that that's sort of how these things work. But I think at the time, I was kind of like, oh, wow, this all makes sense. If I were to make a smartphone app, it would be to get off my phone. And I thought about AOL Instant Messenger and like the days of away messages and how like there was one computer in my childhood home with the internet. And if I left that computer room, I left the internet. So it was like I'm going on the internet versus just like checking email before I got out of bed, looking at Instagram while, on the toilet. Like all these things where it's just like that wasn't even an option. And I loved being able to put up an away message and it's like, I'll be back. I'm not ditching you forever, internet. And so that's sort of where the idea of going light came from, of I'm going to leave my smartphone at home, take this light phone out. You can call me if you need me, and everything else I'll get back to. So yeah, the first light phone idea was actually that it was your phone away from phone. It was only phone calls. And it wasn't supposed to replace your smartphone, but to be this kind of like how you have different shoes for different occasions or jackets or cameras. This was like my going out phone.
I love that you're going on phone, and it's like I feel like it makes the internet and everything that we have now like so it is so amazing. There's so much you can learn. There's so much like I just think about like how hard it was to figure out just fixing shit before YouTube. You know what I mean? It's amazing. You really
Or I
can
mean,
like
like driving to a random spot in
yeah,
Jersey and we had like MapQuest printed out and we take the wrong turn and we're just like,
dude,
we're fucked.
you're fucked. But it's like who said you had to have it all the time? Who said that you had to have this like magical amazing thing? Like who said that it had to be on 24/7? Like that to me is the real issue, and it's like you designed something, you figured out a way around that, which is so
Yeah.
cool.
And I'd say like that's like the best way to put it. Like I always say the word compartmentalizing, and it's like obviously running this company, I use the internet all day and I have this laptop that we're doing this podcast on where I can bang out emails, do calls with the team, everything, run the whole business, but I love that it's confined to this laptop. So in the morning it's like this physical experience of opening up and like I'm going into work mode. And I close it and it's like I still have my phone, like if there's an emergency, call or text me, but you kind of can set expectations around like this is how and when I go on Instagram. This is how and when I do this, and that works super well for me. And I sort of work that way as an artist with cameras and other things. This is my sketchbook that's in my pocket, and then I have a bigger sketchbook if I'm going to the woods maybe, or like I don't know.
Dude, and even Instagram, like amazing. You can contact so many people. You can like see the world in so many different ways. Don't need to do it. Don't need to scroll it before bed for an hour. Like that's shit's bad for you. But so I wanted to ask about like your art practice too. So it sounds like your involvement in this project that like you're part of now doesn't just come from skating, but it comes from working as an artist. And like, tell me about that. Like, how did you get into making art in general?
Well, yeah, skateboarding is probably the crux of all things I identify as to some degree. But yeah, growing up skating, I think by like eighth or ninth grade, I started getting really interested, as I'm sure many young Groms did, in like filming ourselves skating. And so you like start learning a little bit about cameras. Oh, my mom's got this weird VHS camera. And then, oh, what's a mini DV camera? Oh, what's a VX? And so sort of learned a lot about cameras and editing and making little video edits. Through that in high school, we sort of made our own little team. And I got into like, we should make a website and make some t-shirts. And I learned how to screen print and started, experimenting with all these things. And I ignorantly didn't even really know the word art at the time. Like I was kind of like, oh, that's something at a museum, but I've never really been to museums.
Huh.
And then by the end of high school, it sort of just felt inevitable. And different teachers or other parents were like, you're an artist, you're a designer, you should go to school. And so I signed up for School of Visual Arts, which also I found out about at the Brooklyn Banks. Shouts out Brian Kelly, photographer, who went there a few years before me.
So sick. What up, Brian? Yeah.
He had all this photo gear, and I was like, you own all this? And he's like, no, it's from my school. And I was like, schools that you rent camera gear? Like, I'd never even heard of art school. Is kind of another funny one. So yeah, I ended up going to School of Visual Arts for graphic design, but they really were flexible with kind of like how you interpreted graphic design. They let me dabble with my painting and collage side of my life, and also like film and photo was a really big part of that too. And through college, I ran this company called Five on That. At its core, we're a skate company, but we really did a lot more art things, like having art shows for different skater friends of mine where we'd sell things, or, making skateboards, making zines. I even started to use it just as like an umbrella to like get jobs for me and my friends. Five on That agency, we'll shoot your thing, we'll do your thing.
Dude, it teaches like this whole world, just like there's so much to learn. And I think that that's so sick. Like, it can open you up to just like doing stuff yourself. And you think about like how many people have things they want to do, they have ideas, but they just like they don't know how to do it themselves. And being in this world where you're like able to do stuff yourself, does that make it easier to start an actual company yourself? I don't know. Tell me, but
Yeah,
like
I
it
mean,
seems like there's a good through line there.
there's definitely a DIY attitude ingrained in skateboarding that I resonated with as a kid, from all aspects of like, making spots to just like making your own clothes, making your own this, making your own company. And I think, yeah, that's been ingrained in me. And there's probably some degree of like naivety and like risk comfort, comfort in taking risk. Like when I started the Light Phone, I had no idea how ridiculously hard it would be. I was like, making a simple phone, we'll just like take some existing tech, repackage it. And like, if I knew what I knew now, I may have been like, yeah, no thanks. I'll stick to like
Dude,
making videos for other people. But obviously I'm
yeah,
grateful.
I feel like that's like such a good lesson or transition to like so much of skating. You don't know, you have this idea for a trick or something, you don't know how hard it's going to be, but like you still try it, and through the process it could very well be, sometimes it's easier, but most of the time it's harder than it is in your head, but like you figure out how to do it, and that's so sick.
And
I
if you
think,
overthought the
yeah,
risk of a trick, you'll paralyze yourself and never
yeah,
try it. At a
you
certain
just
point,
should
you
never
kind of
do
just
it.
be like, we're going for it. I think I got it. Not that I'm like a great example of that on a skateboard.
No, man, I mean, again, like just put it in terms of what somebody who doesn't skate does. Like a 50-50 on a curb is like pretty gnarly if you've never done anything like that with your body. You know what I mean?
Yeah. The
Yeah.
tray flip always seems to be the crowd pleaser for non-skaters.
Because it looks wild. You know what I mean? Like that much rotation, it's wild. So okay, so like background as an artist, and then you transition into doing video work and working in that world, like agency side, or like what were you doing?
I mean, it was a mix of things. Through John Newport, I met that guy Yellow Wolf. He's a white rapper from Alabama that also grew
Yep,
up
yep.
skating, and he fucked
Speak of,
with
he's got a mean tray flip, by the way.
he's got a switch tray even, like it's a pretty impressive one.
Amazing.
And so he saw my skate videos. I did some graphic work for him, and after college I didn't really know what I was doing, and I went on tour with him for a couple months, just doing kind of like video of all the shenanigans on and off stage, and then like posting them on YouTube to promote the rest of the tour and stuff. And his whole thing was like, I want it to feel like skate videos, and he referenced all these videos I grew up with, classic tour skate videos that I'm sure everyone remembers. Like, and I was just like, yeah, I'm on board. This is awesome. Like random things like that to some I never worked at like a proper agency, but maybe I'd get kicked some freelance. But sometimes it was more just like random B-roll for some fashion shoot that I couldn't give
Yeah,
two
yeah.
shits about, but like they'll give me $700 and like that could pay my rent.
Dude, that's the life. And I feel like, again, like so much of learning how to do stuff, if you just you put yourself in that position, you're like, I'm here. I don't know what I'm getting into. It's probably more work than I thought it would be, but hey, I'm here. And then you learn how to do stuff. That's so sick. So what connected you to, you were talking about being part of this Google incubator or whatever, like what got you there?
It was pretty random. I think Google reached out to a bunch of the art schools and we're just kind of like looking for potential candidates. And my school of visual arts, I guess someone there threw my name in a bucket. I did an interview with them where I was like, I don't trust you guys at all. I kind of hate Google and all
Huh.
this. They like loved it.
Yeah, it's like if you're doing that stuff, I could see what you were saying before. It's like we need one. We need one guy in here who's skeptical because like that attitude is going to drive things in a different direction. That's funny, man.
And the program itself was basically like a school year where they subsidized it. I think I even got like a small stipend, but they spent a good amount of money bringing like all these founders and investors and tech people into the space. And I got
Yeah,
to really intimately ask them about their journeys. And I think like a lot of them, their intentions start out pure. They didn't be like, I want to start this huge company that does all this really sketchy stuff with your data and keeps you looking at ads all day. But I think they started taking VC money at a certain point, and then they have to make these expectations of this kind of like infinite growth. And so I just saw that trend, and you're just kind of like, well, if
yeah,
every single thing on my phone, like the entire business model is how much time can I get Joe to spend with this thing, it's inherently not aligned with my quality of life. Like connecting
totally.
me to people, that's cool. But if you want me to watch random cat videos for 6 hours every day, like that's going to start to take a toll. And unfortunately, it's not just cats. I see like war and a house I can't afford and some trip I wasn't invited on. And, like the actual emotions of Instagram and these platforms are like way gnarlier.
And that brings up an interesting point to where it's like who so much of it is like the system, I mean VC in general, that system of like expecting exponential growth, not doing that well if you get 10x, they want 100x, you know what I mean? Because it's like that's how that system works. But I think you spoke to something super interesting where it's like who in that room actually in their heart like wants to do any of this shit. It's like it's the system more than anything. You can have people who are like more aligned with you than you might think, just like as a person, philosophically, whatever. But it's like when they're doing their job, they're doing their job. You give them an opportunity to like get in on a very philosophical level, that conversation probably changes. Like who that like works at Meta, works at Google or at a VC fund or whatever is really like, I love being terminally online. I love, you know what I mean? Like there are people too at the end of the day. So it's like if you could talk to somebody in that really human place, that's really special. That's really, really special that you're able to do that.
Yeah, and I mean, to that point, like I think there was like this trend of like like publications sharing that like Steve Jobs and all these other executives didn't let their kids use the very tech that they were creating. It's like they were aware and they're like, yeah, not for us, but for everyone else, you see
That's
instances of that.
I mean, yeah, and I feel like there's so many different like versions of that in society. People who, might do something for a living, but then actually like or benefit from something, but don't actually like bring it into their circle. But very interesting when it's these really ubiquitous products. But yeah, man, it's like on their surface, who really wants that? Who wants and it hits me personally, and what you're doing hits me in a really special way because it's like I was just talking to somebody about this yesterday where it's like I feel super blessed for being in the little bubble that I'm in as a parent where it's like we're around a lot of parents who like in general, their kids aren't on iPads. They're not like, watching YouTube all day or whatever. I go 50 feet outside of my bubble. That all changes. You know what I mean? Like, I'm in the airport, 3-year-olds with iPads all the time. You know what I mean? I understand
Right.
it as a tool. I understand it as like around. My daughter watches, Miss Rachel on the weekends sometimes, but like it's a different world out there. You know what I mean? And just having any sort of consciousness about screen time or our involvement in being online all the time, it almost feels like that's going away in some places where it's like people don't even think about it. Where it's like, yeah, okay, you were out to dinner, iPad time. You know what I mean? I'm going to be on my phone. 4-year-old's going to be on their iPad. It's like, are we really doing this? Are we really doing this?
Yeah.
Somebody has to say something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I feel for you. I can only imagine. I mean, we hear from parents every day who are struggling with this question, like especially with as their kids start to get a little bit older, of like, everyone else has an iPhone, like I don't want my kid to be outcast. And then sometimes schools will be like, oh, scan this QR code, you get things like that. But also they're like, I don't want my daughter to have a camera with access to the internet and strangers. And so, I mean, something my partner Kai that I do the light phone with is always saying is like, if we as adults struggle to like maintain a healthy relationship with these things, how can we ever expect a child to have more self-restraint or, ability to like control the urges or the scroll holes?
I'm saying, and it's not all bad out there. I don't know. Are you familiar with Frankie Focus at all? The
No.
New York City public schools have an owl mascot for the phone ban. The phone ban has a mascot.
Yes, I've seen this.
He's an
Someone sent
owl
me the
named Frankie
job
Focus
application for that role.
for being in the owl suit.
Well, he was like, should I do it? It's like
Dude, fuck yeah,
250
you should
bucks
do
a
that.
day or something. It's
Do
not
it,
even that
dude.
good a pay.
No, but like if you have the opportunity, if that's what you're doing, fucking do it. Because somebody's got to be in that owl suit. I will volunteer to do it for free if it means we have a cell phone ban at school.
I have started to see a trend in like more like late teens sort of like on their own choosing to step away. And it's probably not like the norm by any stretch of the imagination, but I think like they're feeling the weight of like having grown up with it and like social media and what that kind of does, jealousy and your self-image and confidence and whatnot. Or like you're in school and you're trying to like focus on your studies that you took out a stupid huge loan for, and like you can't write a paper without picking up your phone 4,000 times.
Well, there was that piece in, I forget if it was in New York Mag or the Times, but about like there was a group of teens in Park Slope that were like all
Oh yeah, we
anti-phone.
love them.
Yeah,
They're
I bet
called
it.
the Luddite Club.
Luddite Club, dude.
Logan, the founder, she's awesome. She like interned with us for a minute.
Amazing. Amazing. Yeah, yeah. And it's like it's that consciousness is out there. So it's like hope is definitely not lost. But man, somebody's gotta be beating that drum about like phone or internet awareness. You know what I mean? So I'm stoked you're doing it. And I'm stoked somebody seeing that side of things from a consumer point of view. Like when as you've been doing this, like who buys the phone? I don't want to say what's your persona or whatever, but who buys this? Because I could see getting it for my kids, but who else is out there buying it?
Yeah, I mean, one of my favorite things about the light phone is that it seems to have hit like a universal chord. It's not like 35-year-old artists that live in Brooklyn and, whatever. It's not just this one trend. Actually, like Bible Belt families has been one of our biggest markets. And it's not just like them buying for the kids, like a dad of a newborn's like, I want to be a better role model. I'm holding my newborn child, looking at sports or the news or something on my phone, and my kid's looking at me and I'm ignoring them. And they're just like, this isn't the family I want to raise. And I'm like, well, damn,
Yeah,
it's a beautiful thing.
that is, and that's also, I feel like that goes to, there's this horseshoe shaped effect. If you're intentional about how you're living, that can hit either side of any spectrum. You know what I mean? Like politically or lifestyle wise or whatever. I think of the super urban dad and the super rural dad might have more in common than the guy who's just like, oh yeah, I would, live in a suburb or like a town or like maybe a small city. You know what I mean? If you're intentional about how you're living, that to me says more about where your head is at versus the like middle of the bell curve. You know what I mean?
And I think smartphones are so ubiquitous that everyone's feeling the side effects. It's not just like isolated to one niche group. It's like we do get hipster 35-year-old artists for sure that live in cities. We get a lot of people that probably work pretty heavily on computers and want that kind of separation. Lately, I've seen like some freelance people kind of do like a two-phone solution where they're like, this is my work number and it's a smartphone, and they keep it with their other
That's
tools, whether
smart.
that's camera gear or tattoo or hairdresser, and then they have their personal phone. And I mean, everyone fits it in a sort of different way in their lifestyle, but we get out people that are like, I'm sitting out here on a campfire and like checking the stars on my smartphone and checking this hill and checking all these things. And it's like awesome in a way that you can learn all this, but at a certain time, it's like the whole point is to just listen to a campfire, you
Dude,
know?
totally. And yeah, it doesn't have to be so all or nothing. Like, fucking keep the smartphone in your backpack. And if you really need the Constellation app, all right, bust it out. And you can do that for 20 minutes. Cool. But are you going to be there all night on fucking Instagram, on Hinge if you're single? What do you know what I mean? What are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, you don't
All
have to
these
do
things.
that. Yeah. Yeah. All that. Like, you don't have to do that. And that's where it's like so interesting to me. Yeah, well, super, super interesting. Like, who's into it and who's like getting
I
it.
mean, we're seeing like more and more people, like even in my friend group, like they've all seen me doing this project for the last 10 years, and everyone's kind of like, yeah, I would,
Yeah,
but, and now more and more people are starting to reach out and be like, hey, Joe, like, how would it actually work with this? Or can I do that?
yeah,
And like, I'm like, seeing the interest sort of peak more, but I still think like some of the biggest hurdles are like getting away from the smartphone. It's like all these little frictions, and people's jobs have certain things, or they just,
totally.
it's hard to imagine getting away from it. But we like to compare it to like a lifestyle change, like a diet maybe, or a gym
Yeah,
membership, or maybe
yeah.
sobriety or something like that, where it's like there's going to be friction. It's not going to be seamless, but the benefits might significantly outweigh any work that you have to kind of get through to make the plunge.
That's super interesting. Got so many questions, but like the first thing I would ask is like, in terms of adoption, what do you see holding people back? I think there are probably a lot of people who would agree that like everybody's on the phone too much. I think a lot of people would even say like, I would love to not be on my phone too much. Is it the like actual this actually means I have to be away from all my apps and stuff? Like, what I just wonder what in somebody's psychology holds them back. To me, I would think the would be first thing that comes to mind is doing this village psychic, where it's like, if I can't be DMing or something, somebody's got a video they want to put up, somebody's like, hey, like, you missed my friend in your reel or something, tag me. Sometimes I don't want to be the guy who's like, I sat on that for 3 days. That's the first thing that comes to my mind. But I wonder what you hear from people.
I mean, that is probably one of the biggest ones, like work related things of that nature. Like a lot of my friends do work in production or something, where they're like, if I don't answer this email, someone else might get the job, So, and then it's like sometimes fears, sometimes for people, it's very specific. Like I want Spotify. And right now the light phone is more like an iPod in that capacity. Internationally, we have a huge interest, but WhatsApp or lack of WhatsApp becomes a hurdle for people.
Yeah.
Some people that are more like corporate jobs need like authenticator apps. So like
Yep.
there's like
Yep.
like people come and they're like, if I only had this one thing, and they're not wrong in that. Like I
Yeah.
can totally see the utility of any of those things, and it not taking away from the light phone. But at the same time, I'm like, if that's the one thing holding you from a drastic relationship change to your phone, is there an alternative? Can you get something to make it work?
And back to so that's really interesting. So there are maybe a few key things, but I'm like, at the end of the day, at least to me, it's a psychological push. If you're gonna do it, you're gonna do it. I see the
Yeah.
reverse where it's like, if 20 years ago you told somebody, hey, you're gonna be on this fucker like 8 hours a day, something like that, people would be like, no way, I don't have the time for that. I don't have the stamina for that. I have shit to do. Guess what? Guess what happened? You got
Yeah.
kids, doesn't matter. You got a job, doesn't matter. You have workplace commitments, you might be on it more. You know what I mean? Like, you'd be surprised. It's kind of crazy. But I do, going back to what we were talking about a little bit earlier, I do also see this thing of like, God, somebody put it super well in a piece I was reading about what they call it, reality privilege, where it's like we're getting to a point where it's like kind of easy to see we have so much data and so much secondhand experience you can get through the internet, through a smartphone, through an iPad or whatever, that it's like there really is starting to be a line between like who's consuming and who's producing. Like being an influencer is like, oh yeah, it's like cool, I'm an influencer. So it's like, no, that means you get to like go do shit in the real world. You're like going on a trip. You're like going on a hike. You know what I mean? A lot of people, more and more people, they're not doing that. They're just like watching the shit on here. And it's like this very interesting privilege that I feel like is emerging where it's like, oh, you get to go do stuff in real life. A whole lot of people aren't even doing that. That to me is interesting. So I wonder if there's a way to speak to that, or if in the near future people might glom on to something a little bit more that lets them do that. That's something I think about.
Yeah, I never heard that term, but that definitely resonates. I mean, we've always felt like there's some degree of luxury to having the ability to unplug.
And it is. Like, listen, I
And
under like you were talking
I
about if
also like, I don't
yeah,
have kids that have a daycare that need an app and need this. I don't work a job that if I don't get an email reply in 5 minutes, I'm gonna not work tomorrow. So I'm privileged in these other ways, but I also am like, I carved my life because that's a pillar of something that like means a lot to me. And I think like the thing we hear the most from people that switch to light phone is that they're getting like hours of their day back. And that snowballs into like these really profoundly positive changes. Like, even if it starts like a lot of people start by like reading a book because you're like still want to consume something. A blank piece of paper is a lot, it's intimidating. But then you read a book and you're like, whoa, I actually feel like I was fed, my soul was fed something. And then you're like, maybe they're like, oh, I want to try piano or I want to pick up this. And basically anything you invest your time in that isn't scrolling social media, you'll probably feel better. And it
I
becomes
love
this
that.
like positive reinforcement where like at a certain point you're like, I don't even want Instagram. It's not like if only I could, like you like are sort of like almost start to feel like you're in a different reality because you're on the subway and like everyone else is like face down. You go to the bar, everyone else is face down, and you kind of are like, I have this like superpower, which is just that I have all this time and I'm not letting
Dude,
people take my attention 24/7.
so I guess going forward, if you want, I would love to hear about what your plans are, like where you see the light phone fitting in for people in the future. You have a new model. It's the light phone
Yeah.
3, right? What do you want people to know about that?
Yeah, so this last year we've been working on the Light Phone 3. Really tries to be an alternative to a smartphone. We really hope that for majority of instances it could replace a smartphone by doing the core essentials well enough. The biggest difference from some of the previous light phones is that it doesn't have an e-ink screen like our previous model did. So it's full speed texting. Things like maps work way better. It's a little bit bigger of a screen, so you can be on longer group threads. But it has a camera now. It's like still a kind of like point and shoot, trying to hit a different feeling of using a camera. There's like a physical shutter button on it. But really, our focus is trying to survive this trade war that coincided with our launch and has really kind of fucked our lives up a bit, and to keep pushing on the software. And it's not like we're going to make a ton of crazy new features, but we're trying to roll out more of these utilities. Some of those hangups that I mentioned that people have, like how can we make it so that there's not unnecessary friction? Like there's going to be friction in any
Yeah.
lifestyle
Yeah.
change, but like, making it so the directions are as good as they can be so that I don't know, any of these like things that are tools are totally possible. We're just investing a lot and making sure it's like stable and reliable. And we've been really lucky that it seems like the world is more interested than it's ever been in the light phone.
I love that. I love that. That's so cool. And it really does seem like we're hitting this watershed moment where people are becoming, critical of technology in that way. And it's like we were talking about earlier, it might be people on the fringes on from a few different angles, but it might be people on the fringes. But that's usually how like discourse starts. You know what I mean? There's like some sort of like extreme opinion. We all have to move to the country. We all have to like start farming, and like 30 years later you get organic labels on food. You know what I mean? Even if that doesn't mean anything, it's like a discourse that's happened. So like I do wonder where things will go, and it's really cool to be part of that conversation, I think, because it affects literally everyone.
Yeah, and like I love that there's other options that have started to crop up. Like, I'm not very familiar with some of the smartphone ones, but I think there's these different tools that you can like lock yourself out with like an actual hardware thing so that you
Oh,
can't
I've
open
seen that.
Instagram.
It's like a brick you put on the back of your
I think that's
phone.
actually what it's called for
Is it
sure.
called brick? Yeah, there we go.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah. That's
And so like there's
interesting.
things like that, and so like I'm just so happy to see the conversation getting attention, and whether or not the light phone's the right solution for you or the world at large, I'm just happy that like we're even having that. And I think in our like quote unquote marketing, we're never trying to like oversell the phone as much as like try to get someone to reflect on their relationship with their phone, especially if we're sort of like
Yeah,
making fun of the smartphone. We try to
yeah.
do it comically and not so heavy. Like, isn't it crazy that we're all addicted to this dystopian thing, you know? Or like,
It's pretty
you're an
wild.
addict. It's like, that's not the attitude. It's like, you're a human and these things are designed to keep you addicted. Maybe you want something else.
Maybe you do, man. Yeah. No, I mean that's amazing, and I feel like that's a good. I have one complete non sequitur that I forgot to ask about earlier. Did you just in conversations preparing for this? Did you have something to do with Stefan Janoski's shoe, like the like animations or something
We
back in the
made
day?
a commercial for his mid-top shoe together.
Got it. There we go. Yeah, yeah.
But
That was it.
Stefan, I met him like probably when I was 18 and just
Okay.
moved here.
Yeah.
And him and Jessica had just moved to Williamsburg at the time. And through my roommate, who like hardly skated, Miami connections, met them and they needed some art help. So like I helped Jessica with some of her private brands that she was exploring at the time. And Stefan and I just clicked on all things art and skateboarding and stayed
Oh,
friends. And
sick.
then I think when like his mid top shoe was coming out, he just didn't trust Nike to do anything that was
Yeah.
vaguely cool in his mind. So he was like, screw it, Joe, let's figure something out. And him and Jason put some like skate footage at the beginning. And then we did this kind of like animated thing at the end. It was basically just like, yeah, the three of us
Sick.
over winter break and like all the voiceovers, like him doing it. We got all the skate sounds outside his house. But they're
Oh, that's
also just
amazing.
still like super good friends of mine.
I love that. That's so sick. Yeah, that popped in my mind. I was like, oh, I want to ask him about that. Very, very cool. Yeah, I get that. Well, cool, man. I mean, is there anything else you like want to talk about with iPhone or skating or anything? I feel like we covered so much, and I will say, man, like in my personal life, I am just noticing, and it's fully because I'm a parent. I'm just like noticing this shift in how people talk about screen time and technology and stuff in this way, where it was like even a few years ago. I'm just noticing a shift. Like I have a 3-year-old, and then I have like a brand new kid as well, and like I just feel like in that time the like screen time conversations are shifting, so it's cool to know that you're working on something and there's like a mass consciousness like going towards something that's like less all consuming with screen time.
Yeah, it's awesome. I mean,
Uh,
I think my favorite thing about it is like I worked on all these art projects for so long and like I still obviously believe in the power of art and selfishly I got so much from the act of making art and still do to this day. But I think what is cool about this project is that like I'm getting notes every day, every other day from users who are like, hey man, I just want to say thank you for making this phone. I've been using it for 3 weeks. I've been using it for 2 years. And like X, Y, and Z, like they just list out all these positive things that have happened to them. And like I try to remind them they made these changes in their life. The phone
wow.
isn't some magic pill, you know.
Yeah.
Phone is basically just like a catalyst, perhaps, if we want to even consider it that. But it's so empowering to work on something. And, you know, I was just a naive skateboarder that thought I could do this. I met my friend Kai, who had more experience in the phone background
Yeah.
side of things, but like neither of us were really qualified to pull this off. And we used Kickstarter and like we're
Oh
able to
wow.
kind of
Oh,
get
I
the
didn't know
ball
that.
rolling back in 2015. We launched our Kickstarter. And so, like, I don't know, anyone thinking of crazy ideas, like, as much as I hate the internet, it makes some of these things possible. Because when we were in that Google program, I pitched the idea and investors were really interested. It was very polarizing. People like absolutely loved it or completely fucking hated it, but it stuck with them. Like I remember one guy I pitched and he's like, this is the dumbest thing I ever heard about. And then like 6 weeks later, he's like, I can't stop thinking about your little stupid phone. And I'm like, it's working. And like the phone didn't exist for like 2
Yeah.
years after that. But I was
Wow.
like, as a concept, it was already doing something. And, none of those people were going to give us money because it was too risky, but we went out there and proved that these people wanted this thing. And I don't know, I love that attitude about skateboarders that, just kind of like, I can make a shoe company. I can make a board company. I can,
Yeah, it's so sick because it's like in a lot of ways you can't, but like go fucking do it, and then guess what? You did it. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like once you
totally.
did it, you did it.
Like,
It's so sick.
there's nothing I've done that's rocket science to get here. It's all the common annoying cliche things of hurdles and endurance and just
Yeah.
like pushing through and being honest and, all those things. I don't know much more than the average person about code or computers
Huh.
or anything.
But I mean that's all the more reason that it's sick that you're doing something. Like if you were like so drilled in on that stuff, it would be like, well, yeah, clearly you could do that, but like that makes it cooler to me. So that's awesome. One thing I did want to ask about too is like music player. Like you said, it works more like an iPod. I'm curious about that because I do feel like there's something really special about. I mean, I love being on Spotify and just being able to get like new music or like dig into something all the time. But like that purposefully limited range of music or having your like X number of songs or whatever, there's something really special about that too.
Yeah, I mean, purpose and intentionality, like I keep like almost beating to death are like kind of our North Stars. Obviously, like my music library has become like a serious labor of love, and I spend a lot of time collecting records and ripping them or whatever, stealing music and sorting it on the computer and whatever. But I love that I own the music, that it's not just like rented on a monthly
Right.
basis.
Right.
And then like there's the intentionality of like what to listen to. And, uh, it's been great for me to I got off Spotify probably like 5 or 6 years ago, and it's been awesome to like own your music again. And on the light phone right now, it's kind of just like an iPod shuffle where it's a huge list of songs and I'll just shuffle through. But now we're working, since this phone has a much bigger capacity, to like add sorting by album, sorting by artist, and eventually like
Yeah.
create
Yeah.
custom playlists. But
Cool.
people do all sorts of hacks. Like a user taught me and I started doing where I would make mixes just like in GarageBand that were like an hour long and putting them on Substack, like how this podcast lives, and then listening to the Substack on my phone. So I have like a jazz playlist, a fucking this playlist, a sitting on the porch playlist, like all these different playlists. And like, I don't know, I don't consider myself a DJ. I'd be embarrassed to share any of these, but like it's very personally fun to like play with all this stuff.
But that's so cool too because it's like I really appreciate that with like radio stations, like internet radio stations and stuff. There is
We
so
might get
much.
internet radio soon, and it would be something where you'd be intentional. You can subscribe to a couple radio
Yeah,
stations and you just press play. There's no like, I want that NTS show from 6 months ago.
you just hit play, and that would be for NTS specifically. That would be so cool.
Oh,
Shout out Gianluca Skate Music on NTS, best show ever. But like, no, I do love that. If I could just hit a button, flip it on, and it's cool. There is so no matter how much God Spotify has like AI DJs now and stuff, which I'm just like, but
yeah.
there is so much magic in trusting someone to select music, and I feel like it would take an even more seismic technological shift to take that away. Like
Oh, and I would
there's
say like
magic in
that's
it.
like trending again. Maybe I'm just like hanging
Yeah,
at too many bars in Brooklyn, but like the amount of bars that like pay a good wage for a live DJ on like a Tuesday night, every Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, like it's kind of amazing. And having a lot of DJ friends, I'm like, fuck yeah, I want to come listen to records with you
yeah.
and just sit there and drink beer. Like that's my favorite shit in the world to do.
Well, and it's like talk about that. Like, I mean, bring it back around. It's a circular conversation, that reality privilege thing, where it's like it is so cool just to be present and be like, have somebody you're hanging out, somebody's like selecting the music, you're just in the moment in a way that I feel like is not. I'm not gonna get that if I just like have fucking Spotify random songs on. It's
And
not
I
the same.
think
It's an
there's like a
experience.
value proposition in it, like a values question in it too. Like, I think a lot of our users like getting off Spotify and buying music from Bandcamp and like giving money directly to an artist. And then you get that one album and you listen to the whole album, not just the one song that you threw in your playlist or something like that. And that's really cool. I think like everyone kind of hates the social media platforms and doesn't trust them. And so I think a lot of our users feel empowered that they're like walking the walk a little bit more. They're like,
Well,
I don't trust these things. I don't like what they're doing, but we still find ourselves using them all day. They're like, actually, I'm trying to break free from these things, and there's friction in that. But I
Yeah.
think our users like feel a pride. And one of the funniest things that happens is like if you start using an iPhone, you'll notice that people are like, "What the hell is that thing?" everywhere you go. And so you become
Dude.
almost this like unintentional spokesman for the phone. But like, I think people do get a pride in that. They're like, yeah, I don't have a smartphone because I don't like that. I like this, or I want to be more that. And like, it's like more times than not, people are like, damn, that's really cool. I wish I
Well,
could. You know, they're not like,
absolutely. It's like those fundamental things. And thank you so much for like talking all through this. But like, there are all those fundamental things. I heard somebody put it so I forget how they put it, but they were like, depending on if you keep ketchup in the fridge or on the counter, that changes your whole house. That changes your whole house because you have one decision, and because of that, if you need to make room in the fridge, you push something else out. You know what I mean? It's like where that takes you is a completely different lane. Are you walking around with a smartphone? Okay. The number of decisions in your day that end up being made because of that, like if you were to really map it out, it's like fucking everything. It's like
yeah,
everything
I'm
is
sure.
based on that. You change that one thing, you think it's just, you take it for granted. You take it as just like, this is how things work. Your whole life is different.
Yeah, I mean, I'm always like telling people like, don't buy a light phone. Just go out this afternoon and leave your phone at home for like 20 minutes. Go on a walk. Go do something without your phone. It's free. You can come right back to it, and like you will feel
Dude,
different. Like people are like, I didn't
yeah,
realize how different I would feel. Like you didn't think that like not having the access would feel the way it feels, but it's almost like a drug in a way. Like you
dude.
feel like your perspective kind of shifts a bit. And there's also like anxiety and FOMO and other
Yeah,
things that you might have to work through. But I think the hyper connectedness fucks our nervous system way harder than like that little bit of friction of like,
so
oh,
hard.
I want to search. I can't search for that.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Well, I think that's a great place to leave it at. Thank you, man, for talking. I think we covered so much.
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
so cool. I mean, it's thanks for even like, yeah, the interest in this. A few
of
weeks
course.
ago with Marcus over at Monument, someone came over and had a light phone too. And I was just like, didn't know the kid. And I was like, this is so cool. So
That's so sick. I
that,
love
that,
that. Some
that
kid
made
just
me,
rolled up and he had a light phone. I
well,
love that.
Marcus, I think made the connection of like, what?
Yeah,
You should tell Joe you have that phone.
I love that. Well, cool, man. I'll keep in contact and I'll let you know next steps. I'm probably gonna post next week, but I'll let you know.
Yeah. Let me know if you need like assets or anything, like
Yeah,
photos of the phone or
phone photos and then like any skate footage, anything like skate related would be super sick. Even if it's just like one or two clips, that really help.
I'll ask. I've been filming a video with Max Holf for a minute. I'll see if he wouldn't
You're in
mind making
Max's video. Interesting. I like it.
me.
Okay,
I'll ask
good,
him if he
good.
would like let me poach a couple clips or something.
That'd be sick.
I'm sure
I
for
mean,
those I could keep you down.
I love it. Well, I mean, we'll be stoked to see what you
I mean,
have.
I could definitely send like baby footage of me skating and
That
like
too.
whatever too.
That too.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
All right.
Yeah, that'd be sick. Well, cool, man. Thank you. I'll holler soon, Monday, and I'll let you know what's going on.
Sounds good. I'll try to get
Cool.
those this week.
Thank you so
Take
much.
care, man.
Michael, I'll see you.
Cheers.
Yeah, that's it.
Peace.